So first you'll need to open your File Explorer, go to In Work, Training Files, CAD Training Videos. We will copy this, place a copy on your desktop. Open this, go to Enclosures, Track to Track, the very first folder. That's what we're working in. Here you'll see this is labeled number 1, so that'll be the first thing you work on. And here we have our first file. You'll see in this folder structure, this is the exact folder structure that will be when you work on a production item. You have your build sheet folder for importing the raw data off the ProLiner, and sometimes we do 2D patterns, or you have pictures for reference, and those will all go on here. But this is the main CAD file. So I'll open this up. Close this. Alright, so now in order to begin, we are making an enclosure. So we need to bring in the enclosure template. So typing in insert, we'll bring up this pop-up menu. There are various blocks in here that are set in the home file. Now what we want is the enclosure, so we'll pick that, hit OK. You'll see it popped up this thing here. We want to set it on this point object right there. Set, this is the template that we will be using to work in. All the workflow goes down. So now we need to bring in the enclosure itself. So type in import. It's already open to that exact folder that we were in the correct folder. It may not for you. I believe I just had this open already. But we'll start from the beginning. So the folder's on your desktop, training videos, enclosures, track to track, number 1. It's going to be in the DXF import. So there should already be this file in here for you, ready to import. So we'll click that, hit open. You see this is the stage we're at, import stage, so we will drag our enclosure into this area. Now we go into perspective, look at it. You see it's skewed a little bit, so we have to align it the best of our ability. So go through that. So in order to align it, we will come up here to where you see this perspective. Holding Alt and left clicking on it and dragging will make this little pop-up window. Identical copy of the perspective view. I'll make this a bit smaller. Just drag it in the corner here. And now back in this view, I'll select this, go to the right view, and now type in, you see you can't see it here, but you should add the zoom extents button here. Let's zoom. Select that. Zoom selected. Now we see that in the right view. What I actually want to do is select this whole thing, and I have a pop-up bar here. When you click down on the middle mouse button, you should have seen how to install this pop-up bar if you followed along with Trainual so far. So I'll click on this button. It is isolate. Now you see it's the only thing here. We'll zoom in here. Now working in the perspective view, I'm going to grab these little curves, and these will rotate the object in various axes. And what I'm trying to do here is best align this back edge with this other back edge, and this top with that top, and this bottom with that bottom. It won't always be exact, but you want to get it as close as you can. So I'm going to start any old direction axis works, as long as you're aligning it properly. So I'm going to start here, drag, looks close. I'm going to drag in this axis to where it's looking pretty straight there. We're going to this axis now. Got the top straight. I want to align this back just a little more. And this should be pretty good. You can see these lines match up. Everything won't always match up. You see, we'll correct this here, but all of this looks pretty good for what we need to do. No need to waste time and get super particular about it. I'll close that, bring this back up, show all objects, and what I'll do is just drag this, hit the middle, drag it down. So now this is at the import stage. We have imported and orientated the model in space. So now we need to go on to surfacing and wireframing, which is mostly cleaning up the wireframe and then using the surface commands. So clicking on the green arrow, I'll left click on the green arrow and press Alt. Now you see there's this little plus next to the cursor. When you press Alt, it's indicating that it will create a copy of your object. As you see here, there's been a copy made. If you were to just select this and click the green arrow without holding Alt, it simply moves it. But we want to create a copy so that we can pull back this in case we lose some work or need to reference it. So click that, pressing Alt, I'll then type in 1000 on the keyboard. Let go of the mouse. And that will perfectly drop this down into the wireframe box. That number of 1000 will always perfectly land you right here. So now we will work on cleaning up. I will once again isolate this. What we have here is a track-to-track enclosure. All these black lines are track. So what I want to do is put them into the layer actually called track. So open up your Properties tab, under Object, Layer. You'll go to this drop down, open this ProLiner Measurements. Oops, why did I do that? It's already open. And you'll want to select Track. You see now that is all changed to blue. Now I will clean up the track here. You see this track is curved. So you want to keep the curve, and we want to turn it from, right now it's made up of polylines. We want to have it curve through the polyline and have it a nice curved shape to it. We don't So for something as simple as this, I'll show you the rebuild command. Right. Pops up this little box, and here you'll go to degree. I'll always put 3 in here, and then you can edit this value. So we'll go up 1. Now you see here it's giving us a deviation number from the original line. If you go here, the yellow is the original line and the blue is what we're now recreating. And typically any number below 0.1 would be sufficient. So this is 0.05, this is more than good enough. So select that. This line is now one continuous curve. You can see the difference in how it wigglies. This line is basically the same as the other side, so we will do exactly the same. Rebuild that. See, we're getting about 0.16. We'll bump this number up a tick. Now we're at a more reasonable number, so we'll accept that. For this top track line, if we go through our right, what I'm going to do is pull this all to a plane to make everything a lot easier. So if you select your object, go to your middle mouse button, pop up, hit this button called Show Curve Edit Points. You'll see now all your edit points I've turned on for your curve. And now we'll type in plane through point. Now it's asking you to select points. Point clouds are a mesh. And what it'll do is create a plane through the average of those. So I'll select all of those. It's created a plane for us. Go into perspective. Now, plane now there. I'm going to switch my layer to this one, C1, splits and seams. I'm going to select the curve that we used to make the plane. I will type in pull and then select the plane. Go back to a right view and you can see what that's done is taken this original curve and pulled it to this plane. So that curve is now perfectly in that plane. Everything is aligned with itself. I'll now click on that plane. What I want to do is further clean this line up just a little bit. You see there are some points that are a bit close to each other. I want to go and delete. A good rule of thumb is pretty much every other point. So now I'm left with this. I will now do a curve through polyline. Or should I do a rebuild? So now we'll curve through polyline. Hit accept. And that is your top track. See, now it's in the white layer though, so we'll go back and change that to track. Now we'll go work on the bottom side tracks. As you can see, these come with quite a number of points. What I think I want to do, instead of deleting every other one here, is try to rebuild it. So starting with 3, 7. I think we'll delete every other point. You can already see here if you're looking at it, this point is up really high. It's not matching the curvature of the rest of that. So we'll get rid of that point and follow the what is it? Get rid of that point and then delete every other. Here we can delete all 3 of those. I'll delete that one. And now I will run the rebuild. See what we can get in here. 0.09. That looks good. We'll come back on the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to start with this point. Seeing how high it is. And then go through, delete every other point. Hit rebuild. That's fine. These are 3 separate pieces of track, but in order to surface this nicely, I think I'm going to want to pull it all to a plane. I have 2 points here, I'm going to delete those. So select all of those, like we did before, show curve 3 points, plane 3 point, select them all. Select all the curves and pull them to the plane. You can now get rid of that plane as well as the old curve. Do here. So I'm going to want to blend these curves together. But first, you see where these lines end is actually the end of the track. So I want to keep that point and know exactly where that is. So going back to the track layer, if you just double click in the space between the name, it'll select that layer and you'll see a little check mark indicating that that layer is active. We'll create a point object and place a point on the end of the track lines. You'll actually want to do this for all your track. I think I put that on the wrong one. Alright. Now we're going to work on these. I'm going to select all this, isolate it, go into a top view. And I want to set these polylines into a curve. So I'm going to turn on all the control points. And then I'll go through, delete this one and that one. Now we will rebuild. Now what I will do in this case is I'll want to blend this curve to that curve, and I'm going to split these two curves. So if you select a curve, type in split. It's going to ask you, I'm going to pick a point, I'm going to split it in the middle. Same with this one, point, middle, and now type in blend curve, selecting each curve. I want to pick tangent, tangent, and I will drag these handles until they look relatively close to what the curve that I'm trying to match is, and that looks pretty good, so I'll hit accept. And now what we want to do is we can go ahead and delete these white curves here, and we're left with the points of the track ends. And what we want to do is select the point, put your cursor in the middle. You'll see this, all three arrows turn black, indicating they're all being selective. You will move in all of your axes. I'm going to drag it to this line until you see perpendicular. Sorry. Let go. Click and drag. Perpendicular. Do the same for these. There you go. Now we've transferred those marks over to this new curve. We can select them all and type in join. Show everything. Now what we want to do is we want to extend these ends of the track so that we can combine this side with that side. In order to do that, we'll type in extend. Now it's asking you to select an object. Select one of these lines, hit enter, or right click on your mouse. Extend. Click this. Extend. Now if you see here, they're not exactly intersecting at the same point, but that's okay because this track is, these points are taken out on the boat where the track actually lies, so this track likely lies below where this track actually does on the boat. Now in order to connect these two lines together, we will go, you can right click or middle mouse button click, and here you'll see this polyline. It's got a little drop down arrow. Click this drop down arrow. You want to select perpendicular to two curves. If you don't have the toolbar, it's same thing right here, polyline, perpendicular to two curves. We'll select one curve, select the other. You'll see it has created a line right where they intersect. Now I'm going to create a polyline. You can hit F5 on your keyboard, just a hotkey for that. Going from one track end to the middle, and then to the other end. Now we can get rid of this, and if you click on the new line you just created, we will want to get rid of this excess that we extended past the track end. So to do that, we want to select both of these lines, type in split, and select this curve as the cutting object. Now we'll cut those at exactly those points. We'll delete those, and then now we have these two lines being connected. As you can see now, though, it is highlighting both of the lines that we made, so what we actually want to do is explode this line. So now we have one line here, one line there connecting, and we'll join all the lines on this side and join this line up with the other side. Now all we have to do is do that same thing on this side. So we'll quickly do that. Extend. That's the other side, and the process is exactly the same here. Extend both lines, create a line perpendicular, create a polyline at midpoint there, split these curves. That one. Delete and explode. You can avoid the actual explosion step if you want, if you just create the line, end the line by hitting enter. If you hit you can hit either enter again to restart the previous command you had. Right click does the same thing, as well as the spacebar. You see they all start a polyline. If you just create two individual polylines, it'll do the same thing. You won't have to explode. I actually need to go back and join these. Change this layer. That is our track cleaned up, and all the polylines have been converted into curves. Right, now what we want to do is clean up our split lines, which are what these green lines are. So the back here is easy. All we have to do is, let me change my layer here, just connect one track end to another. That's it for the cleanup for those two. For the next ones here, we'll go to a right view. What I want is to create a line pretty much center of these two. So in order to get that point, I will actually select both and type in tween curves. You see this black line here is the new curve it's creating. So let's create a curve here. And now I want to straighten it up to the world. So what you see here, this little box is it's called the scale handle. So I'm going to select and drag this, bring it all the way down to the middle. You'll see right there it sort of clicks. So now this polyline that got made is perfectly aligned in the corresponding axes. So this line is now perfectly straight up and down in the world. I'll select this other scale handle here that's green, drag it down. You'll see it's scaling that line up and down. And what I want to do is get it so that it's beyond the track lines you see here. You can now get rid of these lines. If I select this, go to perspective view. You have here is on each of these lines is a little ball in the middle. And if you select that, what it will do is actually create a surface and sort of extrude it in that direction. So what I'm going to do is extrude out in one direction and press and hold shift. Let go of the mouse button. And now you see it's created a plane perfectly in line with that curve we made. And you see it's intersecting these track lines, which is exactly what we want. So while this plane is selected, I'm going to select the side track lines and type in intersect. What that does is create a point where two objects have intersected each other. You no longer need this line. Now we will create a polyline connecting your 2 points. And if we come back to the right view, you'll see those are perfectly aligned with each other. Those are your side splits. These corner splits will be easy. All they will do is simply connect from this corner to that corner. Same on this side. Now in the forward view, if you ever go into another view and it looks like there's double of something, you see green lines here, this black track line is back. What it's actually, you're looking at the copy here as well from the forward, so you'll want to actually select this and isolate it. Now if we go back to the front, well, you just isolate it's the only thing we see. I'm going to now create a new polyline starting on the bottom track. I'm going to place it right in the middle between these 2 points. You don't want it off to the side here because then that split is in the track, but right here in between the 2 track ends there's no track. That's where we'll want the vertical placed in this situation. Your project manager may say otherwise, but this is the most common scenario. You don't want it a split within your track. Now I'll drag it up. While holding shift, it will lock it to being straight up and down. Right click, do the same here. Hold and shift. Get rid of these old lines. Go back to perspective. Select both lines. I want to extrude a plane off of those enough to where it intersects the top track. Now select the planes, your track there. You've created your intersection points. Now I'll select both of these lines again. Turn the control points on. Select the top point. Click and drag until you'll see right now it says here in the little pop-up box, perpendicular point. You want it to be exactly on that point, so that's where it is now. I'll let go of the mouse button, point, and this is the wireframe of the most basic track-to-track enclosure there is. So now, well, we need to take this and actually